So in this recording, we are going to talk about halotherapy. And let me first tell you what halotherapy is. It is exposure to kinetically activated dry salt. Here at Awesome, we use pharmaceutical grade salt because your body cannot absorb minerals other than salt through the lungs. And so when you have pink Himalayan salt, it's great and it's beautiful and it makes you feel all kinds of good. But if you're breathing in minerals into your lungs that your body's not made to take in, it can actually do less good than you're hoping to achieve. So we use pharmaceutical grade salt in our halotherapy cabins to make sure it is just the purest, best form of salt for your body to utilize for its healing purposes. The micro-sized salt particles in a halo cabin are inhaled, while the large salt particles are spread on the surface of your skin. Since dry salt is antibacterial and super absorbent, it actively kills bacteria and reduces inflammation in the respiratory system and opens the airway for better breathing. Medical studies in Europe have confirmed that the benefits of halotherapy are accumulative. In other words, they build on one another. Many adults and children suffering from asthma, allergies, cystic fibrosis, COPD, or other respiratory conditions found that 2 to 3 halo sessions per week helped manage respiratory problems and reduce the intake of respiratory medicines. So my dad has had pneumonia every year of his life, it seems, since he was a young kid. And a few years ago, he came in and I could hear it. It was happening. And I said, Dad, please let me put you in the halo cabin. And he would end up on major medications or even in the hospital. So it was a big deal. And he said, well, okay, I'll try anything. So I put him in the halo cabin and we did halotherapy every day for 6 days. And he never ended up in the hospital. He didn't even end up on the major antibiotics that he normally has to take. And now he calls it my magic salt box. So that's been really, really cool. It's always great when you can help out your own people with anything that with your knowledge, with your experience and expertise. So that was really a happy day. So if you have anybody who deals with pneumonia or those kinds of things, this might be a good alternative to maybe, before you go for other things. So with COVID these days, so many people are worried about getting COVID and also just dealing with the after effects of COVID. So here's what we've seen with this here at Awesome. We have a number of guests who have had COVID. They're now COVID-free, but they're still dealing with the after effects in their lungs. Personally, when I got it, I ended up with walking pneumonia. And so being able to come into the halo cabins has made just a huge difference in the bounce back, if you will, of our guests here. I was just visiting a few minutes ago with a friend of mine who her husband just died from COVID, actually, and she did have COVID. She's COVID-free now, but she feels obviously sad and heavy, and the salt therapy has not only helped with just kind of giving her a safe place to cry and feel safe with all the negative ions that are in the room, but it's also really helped her lungs to start to regenerate. We've seen that multiple times with multiple guests that we are hearing after they've had COVID and are COVID-free and are coming back to Awesome. They're just seeing incredible benefits from the halotherapy. So it's what we've seen. I don't know if it will be the case for you or for those that you love, but these are some of the things that we have personally seen here at Awesome. Also, interestingly enough, saw something on Fox News recently that said that salt kills viruses, and they're starting to put salt into masks because as the air passes through it, the salt somehow breaks down that virus. So that will be something that we'll continue to watch here at Awesome, but interesting in the news. So, all right, let's talk about where we get halotherapy or dry salt therapy from. It originates from speleotherapy, so a cave therapy, and the Wilicka salt cave in Poland is where it originated. They noticed that workers in the salt caves exhibited fewer respiratory illnesses than those who worked in coal mines. And so they would actually send coal miners to work in the salt mines in order to help them breathe better and to be healthier. Now, there are thousands of salt rooms like the ones that you see here at Awesome in Europe and beyond. They are becoming quite popular here in the United States. We brought these in several years ago, and there were about 50 of them. Now there are so many, and it's awesome because we're able to help so many people with tons of issues. So it just makes me so happy to see these popping up all over the place. The benefits of salt therapy are wide-ranging. Salt levels affect our cell activity, energy, and blood sugar levels, and we've definitely seen the energy part here at Awesome. It's a natural disinfectant. Salt is antimicrobial and antibacterial. The negatively charged ions in salt improve our health and mood. Inhaling particles may reduce inflammation and mucus in the lungs, improving respiratory conditions such as asthma, allergies, bronchitis, sinus congestion, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder or disease, otherwise known as COPD. Scientific studies show that people with asthma and other ailments breathe easier after halotherapy. So that's one really interesting thing. We had several nurses that came over from a local hospital. We had given them free visits, and they came over to use them, and they said, we just thought this was kind of a funny joke, and we just thought, oh, we'll go over and try this out. But they came, we gave them an awesome experience. They did the halotherapy, and all 4 of them had asthma. We didn't know that, obviously, and it was kind of bizarre to us that all 4 would have asthma, but they did. And they all said that they felt like they had taken an albuterol treatment, but they didn't have the shakes, and they became believers. They're some of our biggest fans. They come to Awesome all the time, so it's really, really cool to have seen medical professionals really kind of change their tune a little bit after they experienced what they experienced here at Awesome. Is that true for everybody? No, I'm sure it's not, but at least for these nurses who are pretty in tune with their respiratory systems, it was. So that makes us happy. The calming and detoxifying effects of halotherapy can support the immune, nervous, and lymphatic systems. Additional benefits are reduced stress and headaches, increased energy, and better sleep patterns. Salt ions purify the air and may increase lung capacity and reduce physical ailments for adults, children, and athletes. Treatments are recommended to help keep the body healthy during flu or allergy season. Now, one thing that we love about these salt cabins is if we have somebody who's just really high with anxiety or stress, headaches, those kinds of things, we will put them into a halo cabin when they come, and it's just so cool to see how they just kind of decompress, how they just will calm down and be able to just kind of focus on what's really important right in front of them instead of just be all over the place. We have also really seen cool things with teenagers. So we've had, anxiety in teens is really, really high right now. And we've seen parents come in with their teenagers and tell us they've had some of the best conversations they've had with those teens, either in the salt cabins or after they've left. My friend that I was telling you about a few minutes ago, she has found that her husband passed away, that the salt therapy has just been one of the best places for her to just be able to feel safe and have a good cry. So salt therapy isn't just for respiratory issues, it's also for emotional because of the negative ions, and we'll talk about that in another recording that we'll put at the end of this so that you can hear it all in one. But anyways, I just want you to know it's more than just for respiratory issues. So skin conditions, let's talk about that for a minute. Skin conditions can also be improved with halotherapy, psoriasis, rashes, eczema, and acne. Experts note that the concentration of particles in halotherapy is about 10 to 15 times the concentration found by the sea. So a 30 to 45 minute session is equal to about 3 days by the sea. There are close to 200 salt rooms or beds in the U.S. This was a couple of years ago, actually, when this information was given out, so it's even more now. But testimonials from clients do support the health claims, and many say that they have less need for inhalers and decongestants, but also for skin. We've had a number of moms bring in their littles to use it for their baby's skin, whether it's eczema or we've had several who have just really bad allergies and break out in hives, and they'll come in, strip their babies down to their diapers in the children's Halo cabin and just let them play for 30 minutes, and it's made a huge difference for them. And I know for me, if I have an acne breakout, and actually a lot of my staff, if we break out, the Halo cabin and a little red light, holy cow, it's just absolutely incredible. So I hope this has helped you learn a little bit more about Halo therapy. I also want to note that this is an incredible therapy for pregnant moms, because our lung capacity is diminished when we're pregnant and our body is under a lot of stress. Putting your body into a zero gravity position, which we'll also talk about in another recording that I'll attach to this, between the zero gravity therapy, the light therapy, and the Halo therapy, this is just absolutely incredible for pregnant moms. Just releases a lot of that stress and tension in their bodies and really helps them to be able to feel some peace and some calm. So anyways, I hope this has helped, and keep listening for the other information that we'll add to the end of this recording to teach you about zero gravity. We are going to talk about zero gravity therapy. So let's start with zero gravity chairs. This chair does not defy gravity. You're not going to fly off into the atmosphere, nor does the chair hover or float. Zero gravity has to do with the reclined position that this chair can assume while you're in it. This position mimics the posture that astronauts take during liftoff on space missions, because astronauts endure intense and sudden increases in gravity while escaping the Earth's gravitational pull. It's important that they position themselves so that their bodies can deal with the increase in stress. By assuming a reclined position, astronauts distribute the stress of takeoff across their bodies in a safe way. To that end, the chairs astronauts sit in during launch use this reclined configuration. Zero gravity puts the human body into a heightened state of relaxation as well. It decreases the pressure on all the joints. The zero gravity position cushions sore muscles and decreases muscle tension throughout the body. It makes you feel weightless, stress-free, and energized. So let's talk about the benefits to different parts and systems of the body. So first, the back. The zero gravity position results in a neutral position of the spine where gravitational forces do not affect it. Its design supports the natural curves of the spine along with the upper and lower back, thus reducing muscle tension in the back and neck, which can reduce pain. Zero gravity reduces strain on your vertebra, reducing back pain. Because the body is evenly supported, the spine has a chance to relax and decompress, allowing valuable nutrients the opportunity to enter the normally compacted spinal cord and heal damaged tissues. Circulation. The zero gravity position reduces the strain on the heart, improving circulation and raising blood oxygen levels. In a zero gravity position, the blood flow from the heart changes when a human is in an upright position. The heart is required to work against the force of gravity to pump blood to the extremities. In a reclined position, the situation is obviously reversed. Blood flows into the heart with the support of gravity as opposed to against it, essentially accommodating the heart's natural function. Lungs. When an open angle is created between the torso and the thighs, more space is created for the diaphragm to expand. This results in an increase of oxygen from the air and expanded lungs and promotes deeper breathing. All of these things will allow for a better blood flow, bringing more oxygen to all parts of your body. So now let's talk about negative ions, because in addition to far infrared heat, this heating pad also provides you with negative ion therapy. Negative ions are natural energy that promote health and wellness, so you feel great. Heating natural jade stones creates negative ions, beneficial invisible molecules that can enrich the air around us. These elements are found in abundance at waterfalls, mountains, beaches, and after rainstorms. Numerous scientific studies indicate that once this enriched air reaches our bloodstream, the negative ions are believed to produce biochemical reactions that help calm and relieve stress, produce an overall feeling of well-being, decrease blood pressure, increase the flow of oxygen to our brains, alleviate depression, boost our daytime energy, and increase our defense against infection by boosting our immune system. There is an article that we have in our binders on negative ions that's called Beating a Case of VODs, VODS. Negative ions may be an answer to the video BLAS. Now, what is VODS? VODS is Video Operator Distress Syndrome. And it's something that's really prevalent. A lot of people are dealing with it. And it makes us, it really makes us struggle. Okay, so just a couple of other scientific studies that we have in the binder. There is, of course, more information than this, but in 1995, in the Journal of Alternative and Comparative Medicine, which is a journal of the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center, the results of a study that they did were reported in several different places, but also on CBS News with Connie Chung. There were 2 researchers that conducted a study of the impact of negative ion therapy on people suffering from seasonal affective disorder, winter depression, the blues. It's an issue that is often symptomatically indistinguishable from all year round depression. Researchers believe that the biology of seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, is very similar to that of all-year depression. Hence, the same antidepressant drugs such as Prozac or Zoloft are used to treat both. So the study was conducted in a double-blind fashion and divided clinically depressed subjects into 2 groups. The subject in the first group were treated for 30 minutes a day for 20 days with a low-density ion generator that produced around 10,000 ions per cubic centimeter. And that was the control group. And then the subjects in the second group were treated for 30 minutes a day for 20 days with a high-density ion generator that produced 2,700,000 ions per cubic centimeter. And they were the experimental group. The remission or cure used was a 50% or greater reduction in symptom frequency and severity using the seasonal affective disorder version of the Hamilton Depression Rating Scale. So all of this is very scientific. The results of the study shocked the medical community. While a low-density negative ion generator provided little benefit, but remember they were also only there for 20 minutes a day, a high-density negative ion generator gave relief from depression comparable to that given by Prozac and other antidepressants without drug side effects. That was a big deal. So in the magazine Whole Self in the spring of 1991, there was an article that was entitled Ions and Consciousness. Ions, it explains, are charged particles in the air that are formed when enough energy acts upon a molecule such as carbon dioxide, oxygen, water, or nitrogen to eject an electron. The displaced electron attaches itself to a nearby molecule, which then becomes a negative ion. It is the negative ion of oxygen that affects us most. Remember that feeling you've experienced near a waterfall or high in the mountains that we've already talked about? Those are 2 such places where thousands of negative ions occur. They create an effect on human biochemistry. The normal ion count in fresh country air is 2,000 to 4,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter, about the size of a sugar cube. At Yosemite Falls, you'll experience over 100,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter. On the other hand, the level is far below 100 per cubic centimeter on the Los Angeles freeway during rush hour. Research on ions began in the 1950s with Dr. Albert Kruger, Professor Emeritus of the University of California at Berkeley, and Dr. Felix Sulman, Professor of Pharmacology at the Hebrew University in Israel. So Dr. Kruger excited the scientific world when he discovered ions to be biologically active, stimulated production of the powerful chemical serotonin, so 5-HT. Serotonin is a very active neurohormone, which a lot of us know a lot about now, which causes profound neural, glandular, and digestive effects throughout the body. So serotonin is really, really important to us. Dr. Solomon corroborated Dr. Kruger's findings while studying positive ion victims of the hot, dry there's the name of a desert that I can't even say, but basically hot, dry desert near Jerusalem. And it's just rampant with positive ions. So he demonstrated 3 effects of positive ion excess. They are irritation and tension, exhaustion, and hyperthyroid response. So most of these conditions, along with the symptoms of depression, anxiety, headaches, and low energy, physical and mental functions, were shown to be alleviated or totally eliminated by increasing the negative ion count in the air. So they were able to prove that exposure to negative ions helps us overcome the negative effects of positive ions. So while ionization of the air is mandatory in Europe and Russian hospitals and workplaces, it's only recently come to light here in the United States with the growing problem of toxic air in our urban environments. So we have multiple things here at Awesome that produce negative ions. These heating pads that you're laying on. We also have the salt rooms, the halo cabins that produce negative ions. The blue belt also produces large numbers of negative ions. So we have lots of ways for you to get negative ions into your body here at Awesome. So I hope that you have enjoyed learning a little bit more about the science behind each of these therapies that you're using right at this moment, hopefully, which are zero gravity, infrared heat, and negative ions. Let's talk about green light therapy. So when we started our adventure with light therapy, there was a lot of science about red light therapy, and I thought, okay, we're gonna go with red light therapy, and then we just left it at that and really didn't research any of the other colors, if you will, of light therapy very much more. And then we had a couple of guys who are special forces who came in and said, you really need green light therapy in here, and we were like, really, what's green light therapy good for? And they said it really helps with sleep and anxiety and depression. And he said that, the two of them said that they had used green light therapy in the military. And interestingly enough, we found out that Delta Airlines has also installed green light therapy in some of their flights. Just because turbulence or having to sit on the tarmac too long or whatever, they researched it and learned, hey, green light therapy will help our clients to be able to fly easier. So we decided, okay, let's do a little more research on green light therapy, and then we obviously installed it here at Awesome. So let me teach you just a little bit more about the research on green light therapy. So researchers at Harvard University's Division of Sleep Medicine now confirm that the peak sensitivity of the human circadian system is close to 500 nm, as provided by green light therapy. This conclusion is based on a study with low light lamps conducted for the National Space Biomedical Research Institute, as well as on other studies conducted at Harvard University's Division of Sleep Medicine. In reference to studies for NASA's Advanced Capabilities Division, the researchers at Harvard stated that as a result of this, quote, new information about the peak sensitivity of the human circadian system, determining that the most efficacious specialized light source should have a peak near 500 nm. That's a quote from NASA's Space Life and Physical Science Research and Application Division Task Book. And you can see that in our binders in the Relaxation Lounge. Green light is comprised of light wavelengths that appear green or teal to the viewer and are made up of wavelengths longer than 480 nm and shorter than 570 nm. Spectral sensitivity of the photic pathway to the hypothalamic region of the brain. The measure of the psychological response to light exposure is determined by the extent of the induced phase shift and by the degree of suppression of nocturnal melatonin levels. The ability of low intensities of green light induce the equivalent psychological response to that historically introduced by high intensities of white light has been confirmed in an independent study published by the Canadian Defense Department's R&D Center and the U.S. Air Force. A press release on this project by the National Space Biomedical Research Institute, NSBRI, the leader of the research group, stated, Based on previous laboratory studies, we anticipate that during exposure to the shorter wavelength green light, that melatonin will be significantly suppressed, resulting in better performance during overnight work, which is why I'm guessing they used it for the Special Forces. Extensive trials in the workplace by a U.S. military research and development center with low-light lamps have also found that suppression of nocturnal melatonin levels to daytime levels occurs in less than 30 minutes with indirect exposure to 300 lux of green light from low-light lamps and persists for over 2 hours after the termination of exposure. These results were supported from trials conducted on crews of Coast Guard cutters during normal operations and compare favorably with the effect reported in the literature from 10,000 lux of bright light. And all that information is in our binders. So, green light therapy benefits in Eastern medicine. Light therapy, also called chromiotherapy or color therapy, is the use of specific colors as a healing technique. The effect of color on cells was documented in the early 20th century when photobiologist John Ott observed a change in a cell behavior in response to color filters from his camera. This led to further research on the effect that colored light has on living organisms. Wavelengths. Each color in the spectrum has a different wavelength that light therapy advocates say corresponds to effects on the body. Warmer colors such as red and yellow tend to stimulate the nervous system, while cooler colors such as blue and indigo have a calming effect. The color green is in the middle of the color spectrum and therefore has a balancing effect on the body. Green is considered a cooler color and also helps bring about a slightly sedative effect. Benefits. 2 hours of daily exposure to green light was just as effective in treating depression symptoms caused by seasonal affective disorder as exposure to white light, and was more effective than red light, according to a study published in 1991 in the American Journal of Psychiatry. Eastern medicine. Traditional Chinese medicine, Egyptian medicine, and Ayurvedic medicine. Ayurvedic medicine is one of the world's oldest holistic or whole body healing systems. It was developed more than 3,000 years ago in India. It's based on the belief that health and wellness depends on a delicate balance between the mind, body, and spirit. So all three of those have all used light therapy. Ayurvedic practitioners use green light to treat ulcers. Each chakra is also connected to specific colors. The fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra, is associated with the color green, which is symbolic of its ability to help balance emotions. Antiseptic properties. Ayurvedic practitioners say the color green has properties that discourage the growth of pathogens, and it is considered an antiseptic and disinfectant. Holistic color therapists have used green light to treat infections, according to a 2001 article in the Encyclopedia of Alternative Medicine. Techniques. So here at Awesome Relaxation, we have provided passive green light therapy in the chat room for your relaxation benefits. You can also gain the health benefits of the color green at home by wrapping yourself in a green blanket, which we have green blankets here at Awesome, or wrapping a glass gallon container of drinking water in green cellophane and letting it absorb sunlight for several hours. According to our Ayurvedic practices, the water will be infused with the energy level of the green color and will contain its therapeutic effects. So I hope this has helped you learn a little more about green light. We have really noticed its effects for seasonal affective disorder, depression, and anxiety. So we've also combined it with several other therapies here at Awesome, mainly the Blue Belt, because we know that the negative ions that the Blue Belt produces also helps with anxiety and depression, and also helps to balance out a lot of the different systems of the body. So hopefully you have tried the green light here. If not, we highly encourage you to give it a try and see how you feel. Let us know. Thanks. Have an awesome day.